What's happening? What's doing? My name is Dave McCrae. Welcome to episode 146 of MCRAE Live. The date today is, what the hell is it? It's Friday, February the 19th, 2021. The exact time is 12:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. And it's a snowy day here in Toronto. We've had quite a bit of snow over the last couple of days. Great to see everybody in the chat room. It's Friday. There's always something going on. Well, I mean, you know, I don't know. I decided to make it another Q&A Friday today. Put it out to you guys, whatever you guys want to talk about. What are the questions you guys have? What are the things you want to ask me about whatever it is you want to talk about? What do you want to know my thoughts on? What do you want to know? Let's talk about it. It's a good day to be alive, ladies and gentlemen, or a good day to die hard, whatever you want to fucking, that's a shit show. That wasn't as bad as live free or die. No, a good day to die hard. Yeah, that was the fifth one, right? That was fucking shitty. Man, that was crap. Hey, look at this. So as you guys know, I have Skeletor, right? Check this out. Waiting for it. Oh yeah, bitches! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! I'm just setting them back down very, very carefully here. We gotta be careful with that shit. Yeah, this is episode 146 of MCRAE Live. It's an all Friday Q&A. Great to see you guys here. Let's start this off as the music starts to come to an end here shortly. Let's see what we got going on in the chat room and what kind of questions you guys have for me today. Oliver Mercer says, all looks awesome and atmospheric. You mean here in the, you mean the It's Me Billy BTS I show? Yeah, that's that BTS is up on my channel. I just sometimes like to open the show with it. Real reveal. Very nice Billy intro. So hyped. Yeah, Billy, things are going well. There were two reasons why I didn't have a show yesterday, which sometimes happens, of course. The first reason is because I was in an animation voiceover session yesterday, and I got to work with Dee Shipley, who I have not worked with before yet. Which is great. I usually work with Susan Hart, who is an incredible animation director. She's Emmy nominated and just has a wealth of experience. And she's one of my favorite, not just directors, but probably one of my favorite people in voiceover. She's genuine. She's funny. She's good at her job. But I've always wanted to work with Dee Shipley, who is, she's also Emmy nominated. She's got, shows on Netflix and things like that. And she's great. She's just a top in her field, like Susan Hart. And so yesterday, my agent calls me and says, Dave, last minute thing here. Are you available to do this? They're going to do this. They want to do this. Can't talk too much about it. It's just a kid's TV show. And I auditioned for it a couple of weeks ago and booked a small part on it. I play a grumpy porcupine. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. I was like, let's fucking do it. Like, okay, let's do it. So obviously having a professional home studio, I'm able to record here from home. And that's what I did. So it was great. I haven't met Dee yet, obviously, because we had to do it virtually. But she sounds like Susan Hart, like same kind of temperament, same sense of humor, just sounds like a really nice and really good at directing, if I do say so myself. So she was great and really fun to work with her, and just a lot of fun. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't have a show yesterday. The other reason is post-production for It's Me, Billy. Of course, Bruce came over yesterday, and we went through the final bit of footage that we needed for the assembly edit. So we are doing the assembly edit simultaneously as well as doing the sound design, and things are going well. And I am pleased that of where things are. It's coming along, and as we go through the footage and as we look at it and we're watching it, and yeah, it's coming along. Look, I'm very happy with it so far, and still a lot of work to do, of course. I mean, we have to finish the edit, and then we have to go through it and make sure all the sound is what we want and everything lines up and the pacing is right, and then we got to go through the color grading and the color correction process, and so there's still a lot of work to do. There might be even a few weekends in March if Bruce can swing it. He's thinking about maybe a weekend or two about coming up to my place and spending the weekend here, just so we can do nothing but fucking tackle this thing. You know what I mean? So you gotta do what you gotta do. So, but we're having fun and things are looking good. Let's see what's shaking, what's going down. DMT Infinity says, Dave, in your opinion, what movie had the best soundtrack in your opinion? And which movie had the worst soundtrack? I don't know, man. I mean, do you mean soundtrack is in like the best score or the best like music soundtrack? I don't know. I mean, actually, one of my favorite movie soundtracks, funny enough, one of my favorite movie soundtracks, and it's a score, right? So it's all instrumental, of course, is To the Green Mile. I know this comes out of left field to probably every single person here in the chat room, but it is undoubtedly my favorite. One of my favorite soundtracks is the score to The Green Mile. So yeah, pretty cool indeed. And worst, I'm not sure, man. I'm not really sure. I'd have to what I have to do? I'd have to watch it. I'd have to watch more. I'd have to watch more. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. I've watched The Green Mile, obviously, but in my head, I was thinking of a few films. I'm like, I'd have to watch that. I was thinking out loud to you guys. I don't know what would be the worst. I have no idea. Dude. I really don't know. I'm not too sure. Let me see. What do we got here? Stephen Green, or Stephen Green, perhaps, says, Dave, what do you think about Memoirs of an Invisible Man? Only realized, I don't have my glasses on. That could be part of the problem. Only realized it was a John Carpenter movie yesterday. Effects stand up. Well, I thought for almost 30 years, effects stand up well, though for almost 30 years old. Film average, though. I haven't seen the movie in a long time. Of course, that's with Chevy Chase. That is a Carpenter movie. That's right, 92, I think it was. Hey, Google, what year did Memoirs of an Invisible Man come out? I think it was 92.
The release date of Memoirs of an Invisible Man was February 28th, 1992.
Yep, 92. Haven't seen it in quite some time. I'm thirsty this morning. I have seen clips of it online, and yeah, the effects are, I mean, they hold up in the sense of that I guess they still hold up. Yeah, I guess so. But I haven't seen it in quite some time. But I remember when I did watch it, I thought, like, I'm a big Chevy Chase fan. I love Chevy Chase in the vacation movies. I love him in Cops and Robinsons. I love him in, Caddyshack and he was in a couple, he was even all right in that Jonathan Taylor Thomas film from 94, Man About the House. But Saturday Night Live, Chevy Chase is just great. I love Chevy Chase. Fletch. He's great in Fletch. Excuse me. So I'm a big Chevy Chase fan. I remember enjoying that movie, but again, it's not one I've revisited in quite some time, so I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. Not entirely sure. Let me see here. Just scrolling back. Want to see. What do we got? Tabitha's in the house. Justin Simonson is here. No spoilers, please, for WandaVision. I don't watch WandaVision. I couldn't care less about it. So, but I would appreciate for those of you that do care about it, do not spoil it for anybody in the chat room. I haven't watched it. I don't care. I don't even really know what it's about. I know people are like, what? Yeah, it's true. I just don't. Sorry about that. My apologies. Ryan S says, hey Dave, how do you feel about the Mortal Kombat trailer? Thanks, Ryan. I did watch it because I'm going to say things people don't like to hear me say, but I'm not being I'm just, this is how I feel. So, I remember the original Mortal Kombat game. I remember playing it in the arcade and shit like that too. And I think it was in the arcade. And, I remember the original movie, 95, 4, 5, something like that. Mortal Kombat. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, I remember all that. I was like in high school. I mean, I remember this. I think I saw the movie. I mean, I'm pretty sure I did at that time. The original, I'm positive I saw the film, but I was not a big Mortal Kombat fan. I didn't play the Mortal Kombat games. I played the original game, but I wasn't it's not like I was a huge fan. I didn't even know there were like sequels to that movie. I could not care less. I don't know anything about the characters. I don't know their powers. I know Mortal Kombat, and it's like, oh, that's a cool song. That's a cool, pumps you up. You know what I mean? It's good for running, or working out, or fucking like at a high school dance, they play that shit, or I don't know. Like, that's how I knew it. And I was aware. There's the game, because I remember playing the game a little bit. I was aware that people were cool little characters and shit. I was aware of it. You could not have grown up at that time and not have been aware of Mortal Kombat. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, yeah, of course. But when I watched the trailer yesterday, all I saw was the same shit I've always seen, which is CGI through the roof, right? Action, kung fu, fucking whatever the shit, spectacle. I don't know how to judge it. I'm not the person to judge it, because I look at it and go, I couldn't care less. It just bleeds into everything else Hollywood is putting out that looks like that. That's how it looks to me. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm right. It just simply means that that's how it looks to me, because I'm not a big fan. I'm not the person to ask. You know what I mean? I know there are people online losing their fucking minds over this because they're more equipped with the knowledge. They are experts. They are more qualified. They are more qualified to understand the nuances of why this looks 10 times better than the shit that came out 25 years ago, or why this looks better more in line with the video game. Like, there was a line that everybody was freaking out about. Was it come over here or something, or come here, or whatever that line was? Come here, come over here, whatever it was. And everyone's like, whoa, he said it. I'm like, okay. I have no, but I respect, because I can imagine in my own world, right? Like I remember going to the theater watching Revenge of the Sith, okay? And although I'm not a big fan of the movie, I remember sitting in the movie theater, and when Palpatine said, he said something in that movie that was very Palpatine, and we hadn't heard it since like Return of the Jedi. Come over here. Okay, thanks, Gary. Well, come over here means nothing to me. It literally means 100% nothing to me. Nothing. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't even know what that's from. I've never heard it. I don't care. And I'm not trying to disrespect those who do. I'm just saying, put yourself in my position. I have no idea what that means. Pick something that people are a fan of that you know nothing about. Maybe you're not even a Star Wars fan. Maybe if I go, good, Just in my regular voice like that, you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. But if I go, good, I can feel your anger. You know, if you're a Star Wars fan, you're like, whoa, he said I can feel your anger. And that's what happened when I watched Revenge of the Sith. When I was in the movie theater watching Revenge of the Sith, I'm pretty sure Palpatine says, I can feel your anger. I think he says something like that to Anakin. And I remember being in the theater going, that's what he said to fucking Luke in Return of the Jedi. Yeah, because I get it. I understand the reference. I have perspective. I get it. I'm like, wow, right? But if you weren't a Star Wars fan and you've never seen a Star Wars movie, or you couldn't care less about a Star Wars movie ever, then you would be sitting there, and when Palpatine said, I can feel your anger, and everybody around you going, ah! Or if YouTube existed at that time, which it barely did, it wasn't really around. It was around, but it wasn't around. But if it existed like it did now, you would see comment, oh my God, I can feel your anger. He said, I can feel your anger. And quotes all over the place. I could feel your anger. I could feel your anger. I could feel your anger. And you'd be going, I don't get it. I have no idea what the fuck that even means. Why are people losing their shit over this? And then you need somebody who's an expert to come in and go, well, it's because in Return of the Jedi, he said that to Luke. It's a thing he says. And now he's saying it here, and we haven't heard it in 20 years. And he's saying, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, I get it. So come over here means absolutely nothing to me. So, because I saw people quoting it in the thing. It's like the new Justice League trailer when Jared Leto said something about a society. I'm like, okay. It means nothing to me. Literally nothing. And I know that might come as a shock to some of you guys, because a lot of my viewers, I think, are big superhero fans and big pop culture fans in a much more broader sense than I am. I'm very niche-y in my pop culture, very niche-y in my likes and my dislikes. So like there's a society or whatever, he says, I doesn't affect me at all. He could have said, you know, fucking barbecue chips and orange juice, and it would have had the same fucking impact. It would have been the same thing. And it's the same with come over here. He could have said, I have a stubbed toe. And I would have been like, okay. Like it's the same impact, because I don't understand the references, because I wasn't into it like you. So when I watch the trailer, what I see is just CGI might be good, might not be good. There's nothing I see that stands out to me of like, oh, now this is nothing. So it just looks run of the mill to me. But don't listen to fucking me. I know nothing about Mortal Kombat other than Mortal Kombat. I mean, I'm dating myself here. I know nothing about Mortal Kombat, so don't fucking listen to me, okay? That's what I want to get through. Don't listen to me. All right, let's see. A couple super chats came in. Oliver Mercer. Oliver says, hey, Dave, have you seen the new Mortal Kombat trailer? I thought it was epic for what it was. I did. I just talked about it. Thank you, Thank you, Oliver. Appreciate it, buddy. Gary Rangel says, did you like the Vacation 2015 movie, Dave? Hey, that's something I can talk about. Thanks, Gary. No. I mean, it was nothing. It again, like there's a few funny moments. I think my favorite moment is when Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo show up at the end, and you know, you have the Holiday Road song, you know, with the truckster, which is fucking weird. Like, why would he have a truckster? Like, why would he have that? But anyway, no, I didn't like it. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. Yeah, no, I didn't. I just. Yeah, I'm just thinking, because I haven't seen it in a few years. I'm just thinking back to it, and I didn't like it. I mean, it's not a train wreck or anything like that. It's watchable, sure, of course. But a lot of these movies just bleed into each other. A lot of these movies just are forgettable. They come around, you know, and I think most movies are like that. I think most movies have always been like that, really, at the end of the day. But there's nothing that stands out to me. I mean, you know, it's Yeah, no, I didn't like it. Mendel Goodman, $5 super chat. Thanks, buddy. Says, hey, Dave, I know you don't take requests, but can you do a D&T Forrest Gump? Oh, you mean two dudes, Dave and Tony. Forrest Gump episode. I just love that movie. And every time I watch it, I love it even more. It's possible, man. It's possible. The reason why we don't take requests and the reason why I don't take requests here on the show, and that doesn't mean that some people might not suggest something that I've already been thinking of doing. But the reason why I don't take requests directly here on the show is because if I start doing that, you'll never stop doing it. And then once people know that you take requests, you're going to get inundated with it. And if you start doing everybody's requests, then you're not doing what you want to do, you're doing what they want to do. And I've always been somebody of, I want to do what I want. In order for me to be consistent and not burn out, I have to talk about what I want to talk about. And I'm very aware that what I talk about is not necessarily going to be what people want me to talk about, right? I mean, you know, if I talked more about superheroes, if I talked more about, if I did reviews of trailers and I did reviews of every movie, I'd probably be fucking, at 50, 60,000 subs right now. But I'm not, and that's primarily because I'm quite nichey. That just simply means, niche, as I think they say, and not, well, kind of, I guess. I'm a bit more broad than that, but I'm not as broad as some of the other channels because I don't have the interest they do. I've never seen an episode of WandaVision. I still haven't, and I know, now this is Star Wars, this probably isn't the great example, but this is just because of time, not interest. I still haven't watched the rest of the second season of The Mandalorian. I've only watched 2 episodes of the second season of The Mandalorian. Now, I know what happens. I know about Luke and all that shit. That doesn't ruin it for me. That's more a time thing. But like WandaVision, I have no idea what WandaVision is. I mean, I know I see it in pop culture, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I want to talk about what I want to talk about. And that's why I don't take requests, because then there's a less chance of me burning out. You know what I mean? And then I can add value to it, right? If one day I want to, like the other day, I talked about The Fog and I talked about, more than likely a semantics issue with a headline from Screen Rant, but it was important to me and I wanted to talk about it. So I did. And I got excited to talk about it. And I think if everybody tries to be everything to everybody, they end up being nothing to nobody. You know what I mean? And it's because not everybody can do everything. I'm very aware that I'm not the superhero guy. I'm not the Mortal Kombat guy. Don't come to me for that. I mean, you could ask my thoughts on it, but I'm going to give you a very direct surface level answer because I haven't watched it. I've never seen an episode of WandaVision. I don't know what it is. I have absolutely no idea what it is or what it's even about. I don't. And I don't care. And now that's not trying to take away your love of it. I think that's great. But pick something you don't give a shit about. And there's me. But that's why I don't take requests, because I want to make sure I'm always excited about the things that I'm talking about. Paul Williams, Dave, if all 3 movies take place in one night, is it realistic that Michael, I was going to say what movie you're talking about. Is it realistic that Michael could survive after all the damage he suffers? Is it realistic? Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by realistic, right? I mean, right now, he was shot in this film, in Halloween 18, but he wasn't shot, I don't think, in any places that are vital. Like he wasn't, point blank range to the chest or anything like that, like in the original. You got the shoulder shot. You got, I think, up towards the face shot. So, is it realistic to, I don't know because I don't know what damage he's going to sustain in Halloween Kills. And I have no idea what damage he's going to sustain in Halloween Ends. The damage he has sustained in Halloween 18, yes, absolutely, 100%. He got shot in the shoulder and he got shot in the face, but we don't know if that bullet hit him in the face or if it grazed him, and that's why maybe it sliced open his mask. Maybe he didn't take it in the face. It grazed his mask, perhaps. Maybe we'll find that out, that he was never shot in the face directly. But even if it shot you here in the face, unless it ricocheted and, went up or something into your brain you can get shot in the cheek or in the face and survive. You can get shot in the shoulder, absolutely, and survive. So there's the fire, of course, at the end, but we still don't know how he got out, how long he was there. You still have to maintain that level of supernatural, element to him. So yeah, I 100%. It all depends on what level of trauma, Jamie Lee Curtis, trauma, he sustains in Halloween Kills. We have no idea. So I don't know. Is it realistic to assume it? Yes, it's very realistic to assume because we still don't know what that is yet. We'll cross that bridge after all 3 movies are done, I assume, right? No problem, Paul, my man. No problem, Paul. Let me see here. Scrolling down. Mendel Goodman sends in a $5. Oh, no, I think I read that one. I did read that one. Let's keep scrolling here. Scrolling. Cody Leach, my man, sends in a $10 super chat. Cody, you didn't have to do that. You could have just added me. Says, you're a bad motherfucker, McCrae. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you very much. Apologies if this is a boring question, but pitch me your way to reboot the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise and when they should do a new one. Ooh, pitch it. All right, Cody. I think Elm Street would be, so this is just off the top of my head, Cody. I think Elm Street, we definitely want to see Elm Street back on the big screen, but should there be a discussion of whether that is the right place for that now? I mean, yes, I know you look at Halloween, 18 becomes the highest grossing slasher in motion picture history, $250 million at the box office. Could Elm Street replicate that? Maybe, but Halloween had a lot going for it. Like we said, had the nostalgia, it had John Carpenter attached to it, Jamie Lee Curtis, Nick Castle. There was a lot of nostalgia to it. I'm open to the idea of Elm Street going to quote unquote television, to streaming, because there's more time, and make it episodic. I think there's more time, and rebooting it that way. I mean, like telling the story, because the story of Fred Krueger is not reliant on anonymity. It's not reliant on, this mystery and ambiguous sort of backstory that we know nothing about, like Michael Myers. Michael Myers is reliant. The whole foundation of the Myers character is, at least it should be in my opinion, reliant on the mystique, the mystery, the ambiguity of why is he doing that? Who is he? Is he supernatural? Is he not? Freddy Krueger we know about him. He was a child murderer, right? He was a child murderer. We know why he did what he did. Well, not necessarily why, but I mean, we know where he comes from. And I think retelling that story again on a streaming platform might be interesting. And maybe you tell the story of Fred Krueger, and maybe the first season, because you have that time to nurture it, right? You have that time to nurture that, the nuance of the story, where every episode is like, you're like, oh, fuck, I gotta watch the next episode. Holy fuck, man, this is intense. You know what I mean? And then maybe it's like an 8-episode first season or something, right? And then by the end of the first season, that's when maybe, the parents of Elm Street, they're attacking him, they light him on fire. Like, that's where the first season ends. And it's like, oh, fuck. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like the second season is what brings Freddy Krueger as we know it into it, and we go on from there. I mean, this is a series, most Netflix streaming series, I say most, from what I've seen statistically, most, unless it's really successful, don't go past, between 4 or 5 seasons, generally speaking, right? And this is something that I think could probably go 4 or 5 seasons, maybe. But the amount of time that you have to play in that world and nurture those characters and sort of bring it back to its very dark roots, you know what I mean? Make it a dark fucking show. I would be really curious if that came across my desk as a producer. I'd be like, okay, let's talk about this. I mean, yes, ideally, does Freddy belong on the big screen? Maybe he does. But I don't know. I mean, there's something about, because I don't know if I think the character of Freddy and the world of Elm Street lends itself to a streaming platform better than Halloween does. because of the way it's designed, because of the foundation of it. So that's fascinating to me. I'm not a big fan of Robert Englund coming back. I think, Cody, you and I agree on this, I think. No offense to Robert Englund, but if Robert Englund were to come back, it then becomes, well, what's then what, right? Then, you know, say the movie's successful, well, then what? You know, I mean, he comes back for one movie and then you switch actors for the sequel. You know, is Robert going to want it? He doesn't want to do this. I mean, he might come back and do one movie. I know he's feeling it, you know, but it's the same thing that like a sports athlete feels when they retire. This is his identity. This is his identity. And I'm not saying that as a slight, but Robert Englund is one of the most iconic villains in the history of horror. History. But it's all he's known for. It's his bread and butter. It's it. Done. He didn't go off to do other things like Harrison Ford. He's known as Indiana Jones. He's known as Jack Ryan. He's known as Han Solo. He's got, you know, Patriot. That's Jack Ryan. You know, The Fugitive and fucking What Lies Beneath. And he's got he became like an A-list star. Robert Englund didn't. Robert Englund is essentially a character actor, which is fine. And there's nothing wrong with it. But sometimes when it's all you know and it's all you're known for, it's like a sports athlete, right? Whether it's baseball, football, hockey, basketball, and they retire, they get that itch again to come back. I'm look what Mike Tyson is doing. You know, look at Roy Jones Jr. Not that wasn't cool to see, but it's like, it's all they know, and they think they can still do it. And Robert Englund's like, I can still do it. And he goes to conventions and he sees the love from the fans and it fuels his ego and makes him feel young again. And I think I could do it still, you know, and maybe he could, but he's still 74 or whatever he is. And he looks 74 in the outfit when you looked at him on the Goldbergs a couple years ago. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, so, you know, starting fresh from the very beginning, maybe it's streaming, nurturing that character, giving it a backstory, making it dark, fucking dark and scary. People want to tune into this shit. It's like, fuck, you know? And then the very end of the first season is when he's burned. And it's like, oh my God, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm not against Elm Street coming back to the big screen. I'm not against that. But if we do take it to the big screen, then I say you don't start with Robert. Because if you start with Robert, like, unless he's going to want to do 3 movies or something like that, I don't know. You know, I don't know. It's a trickier, there's more variables when we talk about the big screen, which I'm sure you'd agree. But anyway, that's my pitch, Cody. What do you think? What do you think? Oh, hang on. You also reboot the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise and when they should do a new one. Oh, when they should do a new one. Well, I mean, I think any time. I mean, I think if we're talking about streaming, I think we can start those wheels in motion now. I think it doesn't mean it's, you know, we can start talking about it. Now, that's not development. Talking about things are not development, but you can start talking about it, hashing out ideas. And then if the wheels really kind of like, wow, explore the streaming option. Seriously, I think seriously explore it. Is it viable? Could we do this? Would people really like this? Would people like an episodic approach to Elm Street? Figure that out. And if there's a lot of buzz and a lot of like, yeah, maybe we start going down that path. What do you think, Cody? Let me know your thoughts. If you think I'm in the right wheelhouse or if I'm fucking insane and I'm just losing my mind. Blurry Face sends in a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Blurry. Really appreciate that. Intel Wild sends in a $5. Hey, Intel, great to see you here. Intel Wild sends in a $5 super chat. Thanks, buddy. He says, when are we going to get the full fleshed out trailer for It's Me, Billy, Dave? Eventually. I mean, we're still, like I said, we're still in post-production. Assembly edit is being assembled. It's possible you might get it next month, but I'm thinking maybe April. You might get it next month. You might. But there's no guarantees yet. We're just working very hard on assembling the movie together and making sure it is what we want it to be. But it's coming. It is definitely coming for sure. Mark Williams sends in a $4.99 super chat. Says, I read that the fan favorite line, barbecue chips and orange juice, is in the upcoming film Trump Takes a Dump. Trump Takes a Dump. That's right. That's the movie I'm doing. It's called Trump Takes a Dump. And I'm going to say, I love it. I love barbecue chips and orange juice. That's what I love. I love it. Melania, yes. Give me some chips. Barbecue. Apollo Balboa, I like that name, 1985, says, Dave, I'm a huge Halloween fan. Like you, I see the Michael Myers story ending after the 1981 sequel. Why are so many Rob Zombie haters embracing Halloween kills when the senseless gore will be in the film? Why are so many Rob Zombie haters embracing Halloween kills when the senseless gore will be in the film? I think it might have something to do with the tone. You're right. Rob Zombie's Halloween has a lot of gore. Halloween 2018 didn't. Halloween 18 had gore. Not Al Gore, but it had gore. That gore is going to be stepped up big time for Halloween Kills. I think people are more willing to accept it if the tone of the film and the direction of the story feels like an authentic continuation from what we know. It's familiar. Rob Zombie's style is very different from what David Gordon Green is doing. Now, David Gordon Green's style is also very different from the original John Carpenter's Halloween. But because you have Curtis and because you have, you know, it feels like a more modern take, updated, you know, more polished, more Hollywood. Rob Zombie's Halloween films are very, I mean, there's no other way to put it. They're trashy. They have that white trash hick feel to it. And I think when I don't think it was the gore in Rob Zombie's films. At least it wasn't for me. And I know that might come as a shock to some, but the gore in Rob Zombie's films is not the issue I have with the films. It's the tone, it's the story, it's the way the character is utilized. It's the way the character of Michael is presented. And you know, like I said, in the first 5 minutes of his first Halloween film, I mean, I'm going to come over there and skull fuck you, bitch. And I get what he's doing. I understand what he's doing. The problem is I don't know. Like, I know he's trying to tell a story that, well, the reason why Michael is this way is because he comes from this kind of family. Okay. Well, we know that really happens, right? That's the balance between nature versus nurture. We know that kids or people who grew up in awful environments can turn out to be fucking insane. We also know that people who grew up in awful environments can also make something of their lives and become incredible people, right? It's not a hard science. But certainly there is evidence to suggest that, yes, if you are born into this kind of a family, yeah, you can turn out to be this way. I understand what he's doing. But the problem is that, like, if Martin Scorsese, like, but that's just Rob Zombie. Like, it's not like this is the first time we've seen this kind of thing in a Rob Zombie movie. So I know he's trying to, it just almost feels like he's inconspicuously trying to pass it off like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm telling it. No, you're just doing it because that's what you do. And now you're able to justify it and say, oh, well, he comes from this kind of family, so he must be weird. It just worked. It just so happened that you fell ass backwards into a situation where you could utilize what you do and pass it off as creative intent. And it's kind of like, I don't know if I buy that fully. Like, I mean, he has those types of characters in every movie he does. So it's hard for me to believe that it was a hard, very creative decision here. You know what I mean? I'm just not a fan of his movies. I'm not a fan of his music really either. It's not my style of music. So I don't hate the man. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure we could shoot the shit and talk Halloween over a beer, no problem. It's not personal. It's just that I'm not tonally, aesthetic, character wise, the dialogue, it just doesn't, it's very, very particular. you don't necessarily watch 18. Now there's gore in it, and there's very little suspense, but you're not watching Halloween 18 feeling like, wow, look at all this white trash, right? You're not feeling, wow, look at all these hicks, you know? Ding, 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 ding. I mean, you don't get that sense when you watch Halloween 18. So I think people are more willing to accept it because it feels more organic. It feels tonally more in line with what we know. And I think that's primarily why. Oh, a bunch of super chats came in here. Let me get these. Sean Sheridan, €2. Thanks, buddy. Do you play PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X? Yes and no. I have a PS4. I want to get a PS5. I'm definitely not a gamer. Like, I think Cody Leach is, I don't know if he's in the chat still or not. Oh, he is. Cool. I'll read his thing here in a second. I know he's a gamer and he likes to play. I know Cecil Laird likes to play too. Who doesn't like to play video games, right? But I wouldn't classify myself as a gamer, but I definitely always like to have a console around because I do like to play every now and then. So I still have my PS4. I will probably get the PS5 soon. I'm just waiting for more games to come out, and then and I'll play that too. I also like to play my NHL hockey on it too. I know, very Canadian thing to say, but it's true. Cody says here, he says, interesting idea. I've always thought there was something interesting left to develop regarding the pre-dream demon Freddy. I'm 100% with you on Englund. God bless him, but it's time for a change. I couldn't agree more. And I think you're right. Like, again, you know, maybe there isn't. And maybe when people start exploring it, they'll come to the conclusion of, you know what, maybe a streaming Elm Street show isn't the best idea, right? Maybe it isn't. I mean, maybe they'll start to explore it. They'll hash out some ideas. Maybe there'll be a treatment that'll be written. And it's kind of like, oh, I don't know. And maybe you suddenly discover, you know what, this isn't the best thing to do. Let's stick to the movies. But there's something about streaming when you look at how much you can get people at, if it's good, it's got to be done well, it's got to be good, right? But you have more time to build story. You have more time to get your audience emotionally attached to the narrative. You have more time for nuance. I mean, really, an 8-episode season is like an 8-hour movie. You have all this time to build suspense, to nurture characters, to build foundation, to, you know, every episode ends on like a cliffhanger. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's like a book. It's like a page turner, you know? Obviously that takes talent and skill and good writing and good characters and good development. There's a lot of things that got to be firing on all cylinders. But when it's done right and it's done well, it's pretty fucking special. And there are examples of shows like that do that. They're like, fuck, you know what I mean? And I just think having that little bit of still keeping, I mean, you don't want to like strip away all the mystique from Fred Krueger. You certainly don't want to do that, right? So when I say that Michael is built on the foundation of ambiguity and mystique, it's not that Freddy Krueger doesn't have any of that. He certainly has that. So you don't want to strip it all away. You do want to still kind of keep like the mystique of this character there. But his backstory is not a mystery. We know who he is. We know why he's doing what he's doing. And that's something you can build off of, right? In like a season arc, which would be fascinating to watch. I mean, maybe even the first couple of seasons, kids are going missing, kids are being murdered, nobody knows who it is, right? It becomes like the first couple of seasons, excuse me. I meant the first couple of episodes of the first season, excuse me. Kids are going missing, kids are being murdered. Nobody, it's like a procedure, it's like a crime, like a CSI kind of thing. Like it can get fucking as deep and as fucking intense as like Seven. You know what I'm saying? Imagine that. Imagine the intensity of Seven, right? The seriousness of Seven, the visual, the tone of David Fincher's Seven in the first season of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh my God. You know what I mean? And the first couple of episodes, like kids are going missing. They're trying to figure out why. They don't know who it is. You don't even see fucking Fred Krueger in like the first few episodes, you know? And then they start to figure it out and they're on his tail, you know, in Springwood or whatever the name of the town is. Springwood, I think it is, something like that. Maybe I'm thinking of Scream. I think I get those mixed up sometimes. But yeah, think of that. That would be awesome. I think there's enough there to explore, you know. But I totally understand those who want to see Elm Street on the big screen. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? But yeah, I think it's time for Robert to pass the torch. I do. I think it's time. I think it is time. Gavin Glass, my man, $4.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, hey, Dave, was wondering if you have seen the 1981 slasher Just Before Dawn. I have not seen the 1981 slasher Just Before Dawn. Gavin, excuse me. I think I said Galvin. Gavin, excuse me. I should put on my glasses. I don't know where they are. They're around here somewhere. I have not seen it. I'll look into it. I've not seen it. Is it good? What's it about? Oliver Mercer sends in a 10-pound super chat. Thanks, buddy. Says, hey, Dave, have you seen shots of Michael Edwards, who will be returning as future John Connor in a fan film called Skynet, arriving in March? It will take place 50 years after the 2029 battle. I have not. I've heard nothing about this. I don't know. I'll have to check it out. I hope it's going to be good. That's cool. I always like watching, people who take the time to really put in money and effort and all that to make a fan film. I mean, my hats go off to you. Making movies is certainly not easy. Oliver, I've never heard of it. I don't know who you're talking about. So I will check it out. I'll have to YouTube it and check it out. Troy Grubb, I like that name, sends in a $1.99 super chat. Says, fan of the channel, Dave. I really enjoy your shows. Well, thank you, Troy. I really appreciate that, man. Sincerely, I appreciate that. Ethan LeBlanc sends in a $4.99 super chat. Thanks, buddy. Says, the Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet. Oh, it's one of my fucking favorite lines. Watched it yesterday, and now it always reminds me of you, Team Zilla. Yes, Team Zilla. And I'm so glad I love that line, man. I mean, the Empire. Look, the Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars movie. I know it's a little cliche to say, but hey, it's fucking amazing. And that's my favorite moment in the whole movie. There's a lot of great moments in that movie, but I love that the Force is with you, young Skywalker. Pause. But you are not a Jedi yet. Oh my God. The look, and it's like the moment you've been waiting for. Father and son. Of course, you don't know they're father and son at this point. But I mean, it's like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. It's great. It's powerful. It's epic. And James Earl Jones's voice is in his prime. It's prime real estate right there, folks. I love it. Into Christopher Kraus sends in just a $5 super chat. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Intel Wild, my man Intel, sends in a $5 super chat. Says, Zombie somehow got mixed up and put Michael in the Texas Chainsaw franchise. Skull, fuck you, bitch. Yeah. I mean, and listen, I believe Zombie's on the record of saying that he has no interest in doing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. But here is a property that is in the pop culture that has a antagonist that comes from a trash family. So there's no creative. It's not like, there you go. It's given to you, Rob. You can go as trashy and as hick and as fucking full on incestual as you want. And we're not going to complain because it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I don't know why you don't do it. But anyway, I couldn't agree more. Kenneth Holmes, I should say. Kenneth Holmes. Thanks, buddy. Sends in a $10 super chat. Says, hey, Dave, love the channel, man. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Really excited for It's Me, Billy, and was wondering, so what is your favorite music? I'm excited for you guys to see it. To see the film as well. What's my favorite music? I don't really have a favorite music. I generally don't listen to like hardcore gangster rap. It's just not really my style. Some hip hop is all right. Like some I can get in. Like I shouldn't say I'm not a big fan. That's not true. Lyrics are not really big for me. Unless it's a slow song, like if it's a slow ballad or something like that, lyrics obviously are very important. But I'm all about the beat. I'm all about the melody. So, I'll listen to anything from like fucking top 40 to pop to rock to classic rock to, like anything that's got to, like, listen, if there's some gangster rap out there and there are some that's got really good beats, I'll listen to it. But there isn't a specific music that I listen to or a specific band that I follow. Like, I've been listening to some CCR lately. I know I'm probably dating myself. Well, I mean, there's people older than me, that it's not my era, of course, but CCR, of course, is Creedence Clearwater Revival. Amazing band, amazing songs. I've loved them for years. I've been listening to some of them lately. Of course, my favorite band is AC/DC, but I don't really follow anybody. There isn't a particular music that I listen to. I will like, if it resonates with me, chances are I'll like it. I'm very open that way. Sean Sheridan, €2. Thanks, buddy. Favorite comedy and thriller movies? I don't know if I have a favorite comedy, but I tend to like the older stuff. So I'm a big fan of Peter Sellers' The Party. I think it was 69. Was it 69? Hey, Google, what year did Peter Sellers' The Party come out? I shouldn't say it. I shouldn't have said it that way because it's not his.
The release date of The Party was April 4th, 1968.
68. Okay, 68. I love Peter Sellers. And I love The Party. Fucking hilarious. But I think my favorite comedy, like I love the original Vacation from 1983, I think it was. Chevy Chase. Love that movie. Love The Christmas Vacation. I really like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with John Candy and Steve Martin. I think that's my favorite comedy of all time. One of them anyway. Love that movie. Absolutely love it. You know, like you could even say Ghostbusters, even though it's more supernatural, but it's comedy kind of, you know? So yeah, I Blazing Saddles is hilarious. You know, Haunted Honeymoon is hilarious. You know, Uncle Buck is, I mean, I tend to like sort of that era of comedies. Comedies today, I don't find particularly funny. Every now and then I find a comedy funny, but it usually, they usually have to it's usually raunchiness, right? Like they got to go dirty and raunchy, you know, or they got to make a movie with fucking 12-year-old swearing, you know, or something. And there's not a lot of smart comedies today. There's not a lot of there are, I mean, there are some that are out there, but I don't know. Comedies to me seem just raunchier and raunchier and more exploitive over the years. And I'm just like, I mean, it's okay. You know what I mean? I tend to like the older stuff, but it could just be my, you know, grumpy old madness. I don't know. And thriller movies. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Seven, of course. Love Seven. It's one of my favorite thrillers of all time. I'm a big fan of, well, I mean, you know, they're horror movies, I guess, but I like the older films like, you know, Hitchcock's Rear Window and, you know, Touch of Evil and I mean, even Sunset Boulevard to a degree. Well, no, not Sunset Boulevard. I would say more, I love Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Betty Davis, Joan Crawford. I know this is probably you're like, who, what? But love that movie. More modern stuff, thrillers like, you know, The Game. I love David Fincher's The Game from 1997. I love the remake of Alfred Hitchcock's movie, Dial M for Murder, of course, with Michael Douglas, which is a perfect murder. Michael Douglas and Gwyneth Paltrow from 1998. I love that movie. That's a thriller. Love that movie. And then, yeah, like there's a lot of them out there. I mean, I'm going back, you know, because those are movies I'm fond of, but The Game, I love The Game. David Fincher's The Game is fucking great. If you guys haven't seen The Game by Fincher, 97, it's fucking great. It's fucking great. So those are some anyway. And there's more modern ones. Like I love Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners from 2013, I think it was. That's a good fucking movie. That's a great movie. Jake Gyllenhaal, Hugh Jackman. That's a good movie. Prisoners. Really like that movie. That's a thriller. I'd consider that like a psych thriller, you know. I love Shutter Island. That's a psychological thriller, but really enjoyed that movie. So that's more modern. I mean, that's 2010 now, I think, but love that movie too. Reese Wilson. Reese, my man. Reese Wilson sends in $14.99 Australian dollars. Says, hey, Dave, I'm turning 40 on Sunday, and I'm suddenly not feeling as young. And I'm feeling more conscientious of my, did I say that right? Conscience. Yeah, I think I said that. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm trying to make sure I'm getting everything right here. Of my health and taking care of myself. Did you feel any changes about turning 40? I don't think so. Not turning 40. I mean, I'm aware that I'll be 42 in May. And I'm not old, but I'm not young anymore. You know, I'm approaching midlife. And really, we could be, I mean, depending on what, I know midlife is just sort of a stage. But technically, I mean, in order to be midlife at 45, you have to live to 90, and very few of us are going to live to 90. So some of us could be midlife in their 30s, I mean, I don't feel, mind-wise, I don't feel any older than I was when I was 25. I know I'm wiser. I know I've been through more. I'm tired more, but I think I'm tired more because I don't get enough sleep, because I'm usually up till 1 or 2 in the morning working, or I'm prepping for the next day, or I'm doing auditions or doing voiceover work or working on It's Me, Billy, or, also living my life, hanging out with my girlfriend, hanging out with my friends. And, so I'm tired more. I find when I go for my runs, I don't feel as, I want to feel like I did 10 or 15 years ago when I felt more spry when I would run, but I also sit more, and I'm trying not to sit as much, because when I started doing this YouTube channel, like I would only sit in my studio when I was working on stuff. But now I'm sitting more because I'm doing MCRAE Live. I'm doing Two Dudes. I'm sitting more. So I think that's also part of it. I think I need to stretch a bit more and things like that. And so, I mean, just things that probably could be corrected. I don't feel like, oh God, I don't feel like that. I know if I have any kinks or pains or whatever, it's probably because Dave, get off your ass and go do a bit of yoga, not necessarily, planned out yoga, but go into the living room and stretch, or go, do something. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, no, I don't think so. I mean, it's true at the end of the day, age is for the most part a state of mind. You know what I mean? Of course you can't, this doesn't lie, unless I were to diet or something. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. Well, and your birthday, you said, is this on Sunday. So happy early birthday, my man. Celebrate, enjoy it. 40, you're 40. You've lived life. You've seen shit. You've been through shit. You survived shit, right? You're here. You're 40 years old. Celebrate it. And I think the 40s are going to be a pretty good decade. I think the 40s are going to be all right. 40 is that age where it's like, and some people say 40 is the new 30. No, it's 40, but but we can look at it a bit differently. We can go, it's a good decade. I'm not old, but I'm not young. I'm that age where I can still, I know shit. We know shit now. We're in our 40s. We know shit. We've been through, we've been around the block a couple of times, and we're not like 90 yet, which is good. Happy early birthday, my man. Sean Sheridan sends in €2, says, ever see Copycat 96 and The Truman Show 94? The Truman Show, I don't believe, was 94. Hey, Google, what year did The Truman Show come out? Wasn't 94.
In Canada, The Truman Show was released in June 5th, 1998.
98. It was 98. And they say in Canada, I don't know why she says that. It's probably because it's based here, and I have the Google, I bought it here. The Truman Show came out everywhere in 1998. So Copycat 96, I don't know if Copycat was 96. Maybe it was. I don't know if I've seen Copycat. Maybe I've seen it. The Truman Show, yes, I adore The Truman Show. And if I don't see you, what does he say? Good morning. And if I don't see you later, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, or whatever it is he said. It's great. I love that fucking movie. A great movie. Ron Howard, I believe, directed that. I think he did. Hey, Google, who directed The Truman Show? It was Ron Howard, right?
The Truman Show was directed by Peter Weir.
Oh, no, Peter Weir, of course. Peter Weir. No, Ron Howard directed Ed TV, I think, which is kind of like, that came out. Hey, Google, who directed Ed TV? That was Matthew McConaughey.
EDTV was directed by Ron Howard.
Yeah, EDTV. It was Ed TV, I think it was. That's right. He directed, that's right. Yeah, Peter Weir. That's right. Peter Weir, I think he was the guy that did The Mosquito Coast and Witness, and yeah. That's right. Peter Weir. That's right. That was a great movie. Recan Man 85 sends in a $4.99 super chat and says, what if they started the Elm Street series to flesh out things and led into a movie where he is Freddy? Could that work, you think? I mean, anything's possible, obviously, right? But is it probable is the question. And I would have to go and look at, and I know it hasn't been done very often, but I would want to go look at, it's been, how well have movies that have started as television shows done and continuing the story that way, right? So it's not like there's a television show and then they do a movie based on the television show. That's not what you're talking about. You're talking about starting as a television show and continuing it as a movie. So therefore, those who haven't seen the television show, it's totally reliant for the narrative to make sense, pretty much, to know what's happened before. So they'd have to go watch the first, 1 or 2 seasons of this show to get caught up for the movie. I don't know. I'd have to go and see whether that is financially smart and what the stats say on. I don't think it's been done very often, and there's probably reasons for it. And maybe there's an example somewhere where it's been hugely successful, but I would rather just keep it. If it's really successful, if it's really if that first season of Elm Street on Netflix or something, what we've been talking about here is really good, really good, it's dark, like Fincher's 7, and it's like those first 2 episodes, you feel like and it's very cinematic, right? The show is very cinematic. Shows are cinematic today. It's like you're watching a movie anyway, right? The TV shows today don't really look like TV shows anymore, right? I mean, because of the budgets they have, everything looks cinematic, It depends, man. I mean, if that first season of Elm Street, let's say there is one, right, is through the fucking roof, you think they're going to want to over to, I don't think they're going to want to do that. I think they're going to want to keep it going. And I would too. No, stick it to the small screen, man. It's working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep it going. Keep it going. I think that's probably the smart thing to do. I think it's one or the other. Personally, I think it's one or the other. I think if you were to ask any production company, any studio, they would say, no, let's do one or the other. It's either going to be a show or it's not. And I think that's probably the best thing to do. Because your budget's going to increase once you make the transition from show to film as well. So you got to think of that too. I don't think that's what they're going to do. But I'm very open. I'm very open to the idea of an Elm Street series. But it's got to be gritty. It's got to be dark. Like I said, imagine Fincher's 7. That tone for Elm Street. What the fuck? Intense. Fucking intense. Imagine, think of Fincher 7 when Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt's characters, right? When they're investigating, right? The murders, and they come across the murder scenes, right? That big fat guy that was sitting there and over. Think of that scene. Imagine that was a scene where somebody just finished having a nightmare. They're walking in and it's what the fuck? Well, obviously that would be more probably the second season because he's already dead at that point. And, but I mean, in terms of the nightmare angle, but you could still use that kind of tone and that kind of thing in the first season because they're investigating murders, and they're investigating murders of 15-year-old kids, and they walk into a situation where there's a 15-year-old kid laying there. Imagine the tone and the intensity of 7. And they walk in and you're feeling that. Can you fucking imagine? Fuck. That's how dark I'm talking about, folks. I'm talking dark. Because this is a nightmare on Elm Street. It's not a fluffy dream on Elm Street. Can you imagine that? Think about that right now. Think about that. Imagine that. These cops are investigating these kids that keep going missing. And they walk in. And it's fuck. Dude, I'm telling you, man. That's just me, but I'm just saying. Blurry Face sends in a $1 super chat. Thank you very much, buddy. Justin Goderich sends in a $5. Is it Goodrich, I think, excuse me. Or is it Goderich? Goodrich? I think it's Goodrich because there's 2 O's there. Sends in a $5 super chat. Says, thoughts on the original Lost Boys and the fact that despite its 2 sequels, I didn't even know it had sequels, most don't refer to it as a trilogy or franchise. Love the show. They probably don't refer to it as a trilogy because people don't even know. Like me, I didn't even know there were more. I like The Lost Boys a lot, actually. I think it's a very good movie. I think it's solid. It's a classic late 80s vampire film, and I enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say other than it's a cool movie, and I thought I love the effects. I mean, I'm not big on vampires, so I appreciate it on a very surface level, and it's a fun movie. You know, yeah, it's fun. It's very 80s. You know what I mean? It's very 80s. And I like watching movies that are very 80s. And The Lost Boys is very 80s, but it's a good movie. So yeah, I didn't even know there were 2 other films. Didn't even know. But thanks very much for the super chat, man. Really, really appreciate it. Nick Kunda sends in a $5 super chat. Says, Dave, quick thoughts on The Godfather. Just watched part 3 and thought it was really good. Well, The Godfather I haven't seen in a little bit, but I obviously love the first Godfather. I love the second Godfather. The third one, I think I saw the third one. That was the early 90s one. I don't remember it. I probably did see it, but I maybe only saw it once, so I'm not too sure. But yeah, I mean, who doesn't like it? It's great. 2 great films. Classic films. Love them. Chris Baber sends in a $4.99 super chat. Says, happy birthday, Reese. 40 is the new 38. I'm 50 this year. Enjoy it. The big 50. Chris Baber is 50 this year. The big 50. Chris, you don't look a day over 49. Bum, 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 bum. I'm just kidding. Chris, my man, thanks for the $4.99 super chat, buddy. Cody Buchanan sends in a $5, excuse me. Got to get those glasses. $5 super chat. Thanks, buddy. He says, I would love to see Spawn as a series on HBO Max or something. There's so much stuff you can tell that story, the story about Spawn. Well, I'm going to take your word for it, my man. I saw Spawn, actually, the one from the 90s when it came out. I remember going to the theater to see it, and I remember liking it, but I don't know anything about the character. I don't know anything about the mythology. I don't know anything about anything when it comes to Spawn or most superhero. Like, I know more about Superman and Batman and Spider-Man because those are staples, right? Like, those are very common, you know, all that kind of stuff. But once you start like spawning off, no pun intended, to what I see, and I think what more of the general movie-going audience sees is the more obscure characters that are loved and well-known within the superhero fan base, but aren't necessarily well-known to the more common movie-going fan. Like as I've said many times, I had no idea who the hell Doctor Strange was. When Bruce came over to my place and said, had I seen the movie yet? I thought it was some psych thriller he was talking about. I had never heard of Doctor Strange. I'd never heard of Black Widow. I had never heard of Black Adam. I had never heard of Thanos. I'd never heard of any of these people before the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So yeah. So for me, Spawn, I don't really know anything about Spawn. I remember the 90s movie. I remember I liked it, thought it was fun and cool, but I saw it when I think it was 97, 96. 97, 96. Hey, Google, when did the 90s movie Spawn come out? I think it was, I'm going to say 96.
August 1st, 1997. According to Wikipedia, Spawn was released on August 1st, 1997.
August 1st, 97. So I was close. Well, I was 18 in 1997. So I was 18. So my 18-year-old self liked it. And I remember seeing it with Bruce, and I think I saw it with a couple people, actually. So yeah, dude, like I'm gonna, like, you tell me, man. Like I'm totally open to that. Sure. I mean, I thought the Spawn character was cool, but I only know him from that 90s movie. Now, there are people that are probably going to hear me say that and go, oh, no, Dave, that's not Spawn. No, that's a shitty movie, and here's why, right? But I don't have those reference points. So I liked it, but the more Spawn aficionados, maybe such as yourself, Cody, could be able to tell me why we need a Spawn reboot, and here's why, and we need to, you know what I mean? I'm going to pass that off to you, my man. I'm going to pass it off to you. But I do think the character of Spawn is pretty cool. I do think it's cool. Oh, Blade. I like Blade, but I'd never heard of Blade before Blade came out. And the first Blade came out in 98. I know this. And I love the techno song for the first Blade. Boom, 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 boom. That fucking song is, as the kids say, or do they still say it? Lit. I don't know. What do the kids? Am I old now? No, but I fucking love that tune. And I remember I was 19 in 98, and I I remember in college and at the clubs and things like that, when we'd go bar hopping or to the clubs, they'd play that fucking tune, and it was great. I loved it. I used to jog listening to that tune. Loved it. But before Blade came out with Wesley Snipes in '98, I had never heard of Blade. I had no idea who Blade was, but I thought that was a fucking cool movie. I thought the first Blade was fucking cool. I've actually seen all three Blade movies, funny enough. And I saw the first one and the third one in the theater. It surprises even me. But I think it's because I was going with other people, but I liked it. I thought it was a cool movie. I thought it was really cool. And that song was fucking great. So yeah, man, you tell me, Cody, you tell me. Intel Wild sends in a $5 super chat and says, Dave, who did the cool thumbnail and Michael standing behind you? Oh yes, I forgot to say. That is a gentleman by the name of Roberto Van Brummelen, I think. Brummelen, Brummelen. Roberto Van Brummelen. I think I'm saying your last name correctly. My apologies if I'm not. Really cool stuff. Big shout out to him. I did share this on my social media, on my Many Things Dave McCrae Facebook page. If you're not following me there, you should be following me on my Many Things Dave McCrae Facebook page, because that's where I tend to post in the meantime and in between time when I'm not posting here, as I used to always say. So the link is in the description. I posted that a couple of weeks ago, and I love it. I think it's great. He's very talented, very talented. He's done a lot of stuff with like Halloween and all that kind of stuff, and he drew that and he shared it and he sent it to me. I was like, dude, this is amazing. So I decided to use it as a thumbnail today. Really, really, really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. Let me see. Am I all caught up with super chats? I think I am all caught up with super chats. Amazing. Amazing. I'm all caught up. All right, let's get down here and see what some people are saying. Rick Baker says, have you noticed how consistently the Halloween franchise carries a sophomore jinx once they start a new chapter? Yes, I have. H5 and Resurrection all followed popular entries. Can Halloween Kills beat the curse? I don't know. We're going to find out. We're definitely going to find out, Rick. We're going to find out. But yes, I have noticed that. ACDC 113089 says, Dave, thoughts on The Hand That Rocks the Cradle? Oh, yeah. That's a good movie. That's from the early 90s. That's like 91 or something. That's got Ernie Hudson in it, who plays that mentally developed, challenged, I don't even know what the PC word is to say anymore, but anyway. Yeah, anyway. I forget his name in the movie though, but yeah, no, that's a good movie. That's a good movie. It's got a very TV movie vibe to it. A lot of movies that came, not a lot of movies, but there were certain movies that came out in the early 90s. I can think of three off the top of my head. One is Hand That Rocks a Cradle. The other is Sleeping with the Enemy with Julia Roberts, which is a really good movie. And the other one is Shattered. If you guys haven't seen Shattered, Bob Hoskins is in Shattered. Those three movies, I love those movies. All thrillers, early 90s thrillers. So there's, obviously they're not like scary. And they weren't like Hollywood blockbusters. They kind of have like a TV movie vibe to them, but they're really good. If you haven't seen Shattered, and if you haven't seen The Hand That Rocks the Cradle or Sleeping with the Enemy with Julia Roberts, and Julia Roberts was still like early Julia Roberts here, right? She had done Pretty Woman, so she was known at this point, but it was still fairly early Julia. You got to watch Sleeping with the Enemy. That's a good movie too. So I have seen The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, yes, and I do like it. I own it actually on DVD. I don't even know if there's a Blu-ray release of that movie, but I definitely own it on DVD. Very cool. The Horror Show, my man Cecil Laird says, hey Dave, tell Canada to open up the border, will you? Yeah, I know. I got a message from Vince. I'm looking into it now, seeing what the rules and regulations are in terms of that. But it's closed both ways. It's not just Canada. It's closed both ways. You couldn't come here either. Or you could, but there's a huge, right now, it's crazy what they're doing. And it's frustrating as hell. It's frustrating. And although I understand there's even Air Canada and WestJet, and I think it was WestJet, Air Canada, and another airline here are not doing flights to sunny destinations. And at first I was like, whoa. I was like, is like Phoenix on that list, right? And it's not. They consider Mexico and the Caribbean sunny destinations. So they're not even flying there. And right now there's only three airports in the country right now that are flying internationally. Thankfully, one is Toronto, obviously, because it's the biggest in the country, Vancouver and Montreal. But I don't even think you can fly out of the country from Calgary or Edmonton or Winnipeg or Ottawa or Quebec City, I don't even think you can. I think it's crazy. It's crazy. So I'm going to look into it, see what the update is and see what the long-term prognosis is, because it's just as frustrating for me as it is for you. And another thing I got to do is I got to look into the health insurance as well, because if I'm traveling, obviously, I have to have insurance that covers COVID-19, and there was nothing the last time that we were talking about it. So I got to find out if there's that now. And so there's a few things I got to look into before I can it just sucks. It fucking sucks. The whole thing sucks. Everything sucks. Even for you guys down there, everything sucks. Everything fucking blows. It fucking blows. It does. And we were in a lockdown here. Like, we are barely opening. Ontario, the province of Ontario, is about to open up, I think, next week, like a little bit. They're starting, but we've been in lockdown since the 26th of December. Stores haven't been open for like 2 months. It's insane. It's insane. And now they're already talking about, as I'm sure you know, the variants and like a third wave. And it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, it's like, holy shit. It's insane. It's insane. But yes, I hear you, man. I hear you. My man, Cecil, my man, I am just as eager and frustrated as you, believe me. Fast Forwards 289 sends in a $9.99 super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says, hey, Dave, I like your videos. Thank you. Especially the hate mail ones. Yeah, they're fun. It's amazing what people will write. It is. I don't catch your live videos often, but I watch when I can. Keep up the good work, my man. Or keep up the good work, man. Thank you, buddy. Really, really appreciate that. And yeah, the hate mail videos are fun to do. They're just fun because they're just fun to see what people say and to see how people perceive you. And like I've always said, it's not lost on me. I'm very theatrical. I can be very loud, and but I'm putting on a show. Not that I'm not really that way, but I'm in my mind, I'm here to entertain. I'm this kind of person. I like being theatrical and doing funny faces and voices and being blunt and using extremes to make points and satire to make points and things like that. And it's not everybody's cup of tea. And sometimes if you're new to the channel, you could perceive that as arrogance, condescending, pretentious, and I totally get it. But I think for most people who may have thought that at the beginning, if they've stuck around, and they get it now, they get my shtick. You know what I mean? Not that it's not genuine. It is genuine, but they understand what I'm doing, but sometimes I get hate mail from people that I don't think understand that. But they are fun to do. They are fun to do. For sure. And thank you for being a supporter, and thank you for sending in the super chat, man. Really appreciate it. Chris Baber, 499 super chat says, can you take this Canada weather back up there? It's snowing in Texas, for God's sakes. Poor Tabitha. Also watched a new YouTube video about Cecil Hotel. Yeah, I saw your message there, dude. I just got to click on it and check it out and see if it's something that's new to me, because anything about the Cecil is really fascinating. It's crazy what's going down in Texas right now. Absolutely insane. And because obviously a state that's not equipped to do this, I mean, to handle this level of frigid temperatures and snow and things like that. I mean, we've had tons of snow up here over the last week, and obviously it's just, business as usual, right? During the winter months, we get a lot of snow, and obviously it's winter here in Canada right now, so we have a lot of snow, but is it snowing now? I'm just looking out the window there. No, I think it stopped, which is good because I have to go out soon. It's crazy. I mean, my heart goes out to everybody that's down there. Seriously, do what you got to do to stay safe, man. And don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything crazy. But let's just hope that Texas can get back online sooner rather than later. And Tabitha, is Tabitha in Texas? Is she? Can't remember. No, Tabitha. I don't think Tabitha's in Michigan, if I'm not mistaken, unless you're talking about somebody else. But it's crazy. It is crazy. Totally crazy. And thank you, Chris. Reese Wilson, $7.99 says, Dave, like you, I'm a big Temple of Doom fan. Yes. And for Indy 5, would you like to see something that goes more dark and exotic like that film? That's a good question. Well, we know Indy 5 is going to be a one-off. I mean, well, we don't know for sure, but I mean, I think come on. Harrison Ford's going to be 80 next year. I think this will be the last. I mean, it may not be the last Indiana Jones movie, but it's certainly going to be the last Indiana Jones movie with Harrison Ford. And to go dark, I wouldn't mind it. But because I think they're going to approach it like a one-off, like a send-off. You have to tread lightly with that because you don't have time to, like, you'd have to go dark in the middle and then you'd have to have like I don't know. Usually really dark movies, I mean, they can stand on their own. They can, obviously. But with a character that you're following over the course of films, to have a standalone dark movie, like it feels almost more organic if it's the middle chapter of a film, right? You know what I'm saying? Like Temple of Doom was. But they're also standalone stories, and they're not stories that are continuing from each other. So it's not like a 3-act play in that sense. I'd be open to it. I just don't know how. I'm very curious on what and I think because you have the same guy. Hey, Google, who directed Logan?
Logan was directed by James Mangold.
James Mangold. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so James Mangold is the same guy. Yeah, so you have him who's doing the new Indiana Jones movie. And he was able to do justice to the character of Wolverine, right? We know this. But Hugh Jackman is a lot younger than Harrison Ford. And I know he's an older Logan. Like, I get it. I totally get it. Hugh Jackman is more of a seasoned, older, I totally get that. But he's not 80 in Logan either, There's a difference between having someone who's more seasoned and older and sort of been out of the game for a while or kind of, in comparison to somebody who is like ancient. I doubt people had any trouble believing that despite him being older in Logan, that it was not believable when he started to kick ass. I think you still bought that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think, not that it was a movie full of that, but I just mean that I think it was still believable. Indiana Jones, his identity is throwing punches and whips and, what is he going to do? I mean, are we really going to believe that this 80-year-old man is kicking ass? And like, well, they'll just do it like Logan. Yeah, but there's got to be something. I mean, there's got to be some tussle somewhere, I don't know. I'm kind of the mindset, to be honest with you, that maybe it should, no, they're not going to do this, obviously, because it's already, the wheels are in motion, but maybe they should just leave it. As much as I don't like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it did end, the last scene, as corny and as cheesy as it was, it did end, it did wrap up the character. It brought it full circle, right? It starts with Marion and Indy, and it ends with Marion and Indy getting married. You know what I mean? And, it's not, but at least it I don't feel like there's, what happened here? I don't feel that. It's wrapped up. It's a shitty wrapping job, but it's wrapped up nonetheless. I don't know, man. I don't know what you're going to do. There's a lot you can do. There's a lot you can do with, like, he's older, he's seasoned, he's relying more on his wit and his charm and his intellect. But he's not, but he's still got to put on the hat and the leather jacket and the whip. He's still got to be Indiana Jones. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. It all comes down to script and story. And it will be very interesting to see what they do with Indiana Jones 5. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. But darker tone? Yeah, I'm open to it. I mean, it may have to be to compensate for the lack of action or the lack of, like, wrestle and tussle with Jones. It may have to, you may have to have other crazy things going on. You know, I don't know. Or maybe not. Maybe Harrison Ford is going to fucking surprise us all. He's going to get in the best shape of his life. He's going to be fucking cut and chiseled and ripped and fucking like, come on, motherfucker. But it's, do we believe it? That's the thing, right? When we watch 80-year-old Indiana Jones tearing shit up in Indiana Jones 5, do we believe it? That's it. That's all it comes down to. And if James Mangold and company can make us believe it and buy into it, I totally believe this Indiana Jones is doing this right now. I totally believe this Indiana Jones is kicking this guy's fucking ass right now. Despite the fact that he's 40 years younger and chiseled, I'm totally believing that he's taking care of him. But if we don't, it's going to take us right out of the movie. So it's a fine line they have to walk, a definite fine line they have to walk. Let me see here and make sure I got them all. Southpaw 82 sends in a $5 super chat. Thanks, buddy. Says, Dave, I just watched Unlawful Entry. Oh, yes, Kurt Russell. Love that movie. Last night. Wow, another great thriller from Kurt Russell I had not seen. Next up is Executive Decision. Dude, Executive Decision is great. I love Executive Decision. And yes, Unlawful Entry, underrated Kurt Russell movie. And I believe, what's his face? Ray Liotta. Ray Liotta is the cop in that movie, if I'm not mistaken. Unlawful Entry is a cool Kurt Russell movie. And I like Executive Decision. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of Executive Decision, but I like Executive Decision. Bobby Reeves sends in a $4.99 super chat, says, Dave, it's been a while. It has, Bobby. Welcome. But can I get a Busta Rhymes trick or treat? Oh, you mean trick? You mean that? Trick or treat, motherfucker. There you go, buddy. There you go. Chris Baber, Harrison Ford survived a plane wreck. Legend. That is true. That is true. He can fly a plane. He survived his own plane crash. That is true. He is. You are correct there. You are definitely correct there. He did survive his own plane wreck. Ryan Kinney says Harrison Ford could be playing the Sean Connery role now. Well, true, but you have to remember that even in The Last Crusade, do you know how old Sean Connery was in The Last Crusade? I can tell you exactly how old he was because he's 12 years older than he's actually only 12 years older than Harrison Ford, which is kind of funny. That's why if you think about it, he's not old enough to actually be his dad, but it's believable in the movie, right? So Harrison Ford was born in 1942. I know this because he's the same age as my father. So in 1982, he would have been 40, right? So how old would he have been in 1989? 47, right? So that means that Sean Connery was 59. So Sean Connery was actually 20 years younger than Harrison Ford is now in The Last Crusade. Sean Connery wasn't even 60 in The Last Crusade. So yes, but think about it. If Harrison Ford is 80 in The Last Crusade, if Harrison Ford is 80 in Indiana Jones 5, that would mean that if you're scrapping Mutt as his son, which they may or may not do, but the likelihood of him having a son would be like, his son would be in his 60s. You know, like if you want to go logically of how people have children, if somebody has a kid, like talk to anybody who's in their 80s. How old is your son or daughter? They'd probably say in their 50s or 60s, right? Very rarely do people in their 80s have kids in their 20s, you know what I mean? Or 30s, right? Because they themselves would have to be in like their 60s when they had a kid. It's rare. Although they have established Mutt Williams as his son and, you know, but he's not, Shia LaBeouf's not coming back for that shit. I think they should just axe that. But I do get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. Let's see. I got to skedaddle here, folks. We got 1 more minute. Last minute to play in the first period. 1 minute to play. 1 minute to go. Tabitha Short. Tabitha's here. Talking to Chris. Great to see Tabitha here as well. One Rivera is here. Rivera, am I saying that right? Rivera is here. It says, Dave, if H Kills comes out on streaming, selected theaters only, and you're unable to go to a theater, would you hold a watch party live stream? Those that buy it on... I probably would not because... Well, maybe one. It's not a bad idea. I'm just thinking for me, and I think for most people, you would want to watch it first without interruption. You know, because I'm going to be watching it and you're going to be hearing me yabbering and talking and I'm going to be talking to you guys. And I mean, unless the watch party is just all of us like this, and nobody's talking or saying anything, I kind of want to, I think I want to watch it on my own first so I can absorb everything, and then maybe do a watch party, which I kind of did with Halloween 18. I think that might be the best way to go for me because I want to watch it without interruption, you know, and really pay attention to what I'm seeing. But it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. And I think but I have to say, I think most people probably feel the same way. Like, no, I don't want to watch it with, like, I want to watch it first and then, you know what I mean? Like, if we were all in a movie theater together, that's different because we'd all be, we'd be quiet. We'd be watching the movie, right? It's a bit different when you're doing it over streaming. So, but not a bad idea, Juan. Not a bad idea, if I do say so. Fast forwards to 89, 499 super chat. Thanks, buddy. Says, glad to be able to contribute. Do you plan on doing another pet peeves video? Can you do the stereotypical Canadian? Can I do the stereotypical Canadian? What's the stereotypical Canadian? You mean like a boot and oot? I mean that, yeah. Nobody says that here, by the way. Pet peeves video. Yeah, for sure. I did 2 of those videos a couple years ago now, maybe 3 years ago. It's been a while. I will definitely do another one of those. They're fun to do. I just have to write down a list of things that piss me off, which, as I'm sure you probably have guessed, is not very difficult for me. So I just have to do that. But anyway, folks, listen, that is going to do it for me here on episode 146 of McCrae Live, this all Q&A Friday. I think this was fun. I think this was fun. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you to all the super chat questions that came in today. There were a lot of them today, so naturally I had to answer those questions first. And thank you, of course, to the non-super chat questions that came in today as well. I really appreciate it. I think I did get everything, all the super chats as far as I can see here. I believe I did. You guys are amazing. Thank you, of course, to my moderators, Frank Riker, Tab of the Short, Darren Sands, and Chris Baber. And Cecil Laird was in the chat room today. He is a moderator as well. He dips in and out every now and then. He was here today. Got to give a big thanks to the man, Cecil. You guys are amazing. Sincerely, awesome stuff. Have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great rest of your weekend as well. I will be back, of course, Monday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time for episode 101 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Make sure you tune into that one, of course, if you want to. If you don't want to, well, it's fine. Care. It's up to you anyway. Yeah, and all my links to my social media is in the description below. Make sure you check them out until your heart's content, and when your heart is content, check them out again. Alrighty, folks, that'll do it for me. In the meantime and in between time, cheers.